In this video, we're going to show you how to replace a front control arm on your Toyota Camry. Let's get started. Using a 21mm socket, remove the lug nuts. Remove the wheel. Using a 19mm, we're going to loosen the nut on the top of the transmission mount. We're going to leave this nut on just a few threads. Using a jack and a piece of wood, we're going to put this under the transmission. You don't want to put this under the pan. You want to put it on a nice solid part. We're not going to jack this up. We're just going to put it here to support the engine. And once we have all of the bolts out of our mount, then we'll go up on our jack. We're going to remove the three 17mm nuts off of the transmission mount. There's usually plastic caps covering these holes. If you have those, go ahead and use a flathead screwdriver and just pop them out of the hole. Using a 17mm socket, we'll remove the nuts. We're going to go up on our jack. Before you go all the way up, remove that top nut that's on just a few threads. Using a 10mm socket, remove the bolt for the plastic shield. Remove the bolt. Using a pry bar, we're going to help the transmission mount top stud out of the transmission, tilt the mount back, and then remove it. Using a 17mm socket, we'll remove the two nuts and one bolt out of the control arm to the ball joint. We're going to pull down on the control arm and remove the ball joint from it. Using a 22mm socket, we're going to remove the two bolts out of the front of the control arm. Remove the front bolts. Using a 19mm wrench to hold the nut on top, and using a 19mm socket for the bolt head on bottom, we're going to remove the rear bolt for the control arm. remove the bolt, and the nut. Grab the control arm. We're going to twist from the front to the rear. And then wiggle the rear out of place. Remove the spacer off of the old control arm and install it onto the new one. I'm going to install the control arm. I used a soft face hammer to help set the control arm into the bracket. And then to line up the holes, I used a large screwdriver. Swing the control arm over and into place. If you have the ability, it's a good idea to clean up these bolts with a wire wheel before reinstalling them, get all the rust off. I'm going to do that now. Before installing these bolts, I cleaned them up and used a bit of Never-Seez. Go ahead and install them. Get both front bolts started. Get the rear bolt started. Using a 19mm wrench, we're going to get on the head of the bolt and then torque it over and continue pushing it up. This will help you align the bushing with the hole to be able to fit the bolt through. And then install the nut on the top. Go around and snug down all the bolts. We're going to torque the front two bolts first to 148 foot-pounds. Torque the rear bolt to 152 foot-pounds. Be sure you're holding the top nut while tightening this down. Pull the control arm down. Swing the ball joint over and install it into the control arm. Get the nuts started. And get the bolt started as well. You may need to pull down on the ball joint to line up the threads. Snug the nuts and bolt down. Torque the two nuts and one bolt to 55 foot-pounds. Install the new trans mount. Get these bottom studs started first. Install the bolt for the plastic shield. Snug it down. Install the 3 nuts on the bottom of the transmission mount. I'm going to start them all by hand and then go around and zip them down. We're going to go down on our jack. Remove it from the vehicle. Work the bottom transmission mount bolts to 64 foot-pounds. Before installing the top nut, be sure that you have a nice clean surface for it to sit on. We're just going to go around with our finger and clean it up. Install the nut. Snug the bolt down. Torque this top nut to 70 foot-pounds. If you can't get a torque wrench in there, do the best you can. Install the wheel and get the lug nuts started. Snug down the lug nuts. And we'll torque the wheel on the ground. Torque the lug nuts in a star pattern to 76 foot-pounds. Once you're done with this job, take your car to a local shop and have them do an alignment.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.